Welcome to the Josh Button Podcast, where we discuss health, wellness, and outliers from society. I'm Kennon, Wesley Mason. Sir, you have quite the biography. You have been in the health and wellness space for quite a long time. So before we get to your show, the Kinetic Hour, before we start talking about individual subjects, introduce yourself. Tell us how you got into all of this. I know you started with massage therapy and went down a long list of certifications, much like what I've pursued. So tell us how you got there. What made you get into it?
Well, it goes back to 2002. Uh, I had just gotten let go from a company I was working for, actually. I was delivering water, and I saw one of these commercials on television for vocational schools and uh, medical assisting and things of this nature. And there was a course for massage therapy. So, I was like, I've always been interested in the body and how it works. When I was in high school, I used to watch these old infomercials from a company called Soloflex. And I used to watch these. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was very intriguing to me watching these illustrations of how the body moves on the inside and on the outside as well, but hence the term kinetic and how dynamic we are as human beings. So, going into massage therapy, it was a great stepping stone for me to learn all that I know now and am still learning as we speak. It's been 2 decades now. And from massage therapy, I did that off and on for about 10 years. And I was nationally certified, which is the highest credential you can get in the practice. And I had that for about 8 years. And then I went into Reiki and learned that modality, which was introduced to me in my massage therapy school because my teacher is a Reiki master teacher. And so I learned about Reiki degree number 1 and learned how energy is transferred back and forth. And I actually literally got to feel the energy surge or the buzz of the feeling of energy. You can feel it being transferred from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. And then I learned how you can kind of transmute and throw your energy out into the atmosphere and project it wherever you want. So from there, I started learning holistic psychology came my way through Dr. Dolores Seymour. So I took that course as a home study course. I took that for a year and became board certified as a holistic psychology practitioner. And I've been doing that since 2011. Started Kinetic Fit and Wellness in 2014. I became a father in 2014, so they kind of all came together at the same time. But I've learned quite a bit about not only the human body and how it functions, but just how life functions in general and how we're all connected in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And I'm loving it. I love learning and learning new things about how we operate as we evolve, as we progress in life. We evolve. We learn new things about life. We learn new things about ourselves. We learn new things about other people and how we can interact or correspond with other individuals and show how we're very similar and then show how we're very different as well at the same time. So I've learned a lot, and it's great to be on podcasts like yours so we can kind of share a meeting of the minds or what they call the like mind. And so I'm loving it and I have fun with it. I don't take any of this stuff so serious because the moment that anyone starts to do that, it creates stress. And we know that stress is probably the number one cause of most, if not all, illness. Stress of some kind or form. So, yeah, so that's kind of my background in a nutshell. A lot of things kind of came my way, learning about health and wellness, and also learning about the human brain and its operation. And I've been able to come in contact with some some very, what's the word I'm looking for? Because my mom and I did a talk show, or we did a radio show from 2014 to 2016 called Aim to Purpose, the radio show. And I was able to interview some very prominent people from all professions. And so, which is why I'm doing the Kinetic Hour now, and kind of continuing where Aim to Purpose left off, whether it's health and wellness, education matters, social matters, political matters,
Like that.
all
I do
topics
like
of
that
life
about
are
your
on the
show. I
table.
checked out your show,
And so,
and you're not
yeah.
pigeonholing yourself in any way, shape, or form. You're getting across all kinds of different subject matter, and we don't need to be experts on it to have an opinion about what's going on in cultural events right now, or what's going on the stage, is what, if that's what we want to call it. But what are your takeaways from allopathic remedies, from Western medicine? And if you've done this much studying, I saw quite clearly that you do have a message of lifestyle change, that you almost quoted Hippocrates when you said, before you heal a man, make sure he's willing to give up that which made him sick in the first place. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, we're in tune here. So I'd like to know what your takeaways are for how we're actually treating most illnesses and dis-ease.
Well, the key word that you just mentioned was the last word right there, dis-ease, or the imbalance of the human body, or coming out of what we call homeostasis. These are all key words that we learn when we start learning about natural health and learning different ways of how the body operates. So when you ask about allopathic medicine, or the system of allopathic medicine, history has shown us that allopathic medicine, um, as great as it is for certain emergencies, or when it's necessary to use allopathic means of recovery or healing. But the notion that we have to somehow ingest or inject allopathic medicine for just daily living, that's an insult to the human anatomy. And it's an insult to human life. All of us are born coming from the spirit world. So the worst thing that we can do is inject all of these foreign substances into ourselves from birth, whether it's, the vaccination or any other medication that we're told that we have to have in order to live on this planet. So allopathic medicine has kind of confused the general public on what its true purpose is. When I interviewed Dr. Michael Gaeta, he's like, there is a need for allopathic medicine. It's just utilized way too much. It's just utilized way too much. And with everything that's going on now in the healthcare system, it would be wise to at least consider other options other than pill popping, with all the synthetic medications that are on the market that we see every single day during your commercial breaks. Whether you're watching TV or not is irrelevant. You're going to see those commercials, whether you're watching YouTube, all of your social media. You're going to see some kind of advertisement telling me and you that something is wrong with us, something, anything, and that I have to ask my primary doctor for this pill or for this drug because of the conditioning. We're talking about decades of conditioning since the 1980s, during the inception of television, when cigarettes used to be advertised. Former President Ronald Reagan used to advertise on television that smoking cigarettes was healthy for us and that it was recommended by doctors. That was the collective consciousness once upon a time. So from that point on, we've been told all these stories about how we need to trust our physicians. The man with the white coat and the stethoscope around his neck. And no disrespect to any of them, because I've interviewed some great physicians, but even they know, or the ones that I've interviewed at least, even they know that there are other alternatives or other options versus standard, the standard that we've been conditioned with for 100 years now, actually over 100 years, since, John David Rockefeller kind of took over the way we see health or the way we perceive health, as opposed to 100 years ago, before the AMA, you had people like Dr. Royal Rife right here in Los Angeles that was healing people left and right. He was just healing people with frequencies or frequency transmissions, matching certain frequencies with whatever the ailment was at that time. You find a matching frequency, it's just like the old Memorex commercials. For those of you that are in my age bracket, if you're in your late 40s and 50s, you know about the old Memorex commercials. Is it live or is it Memorex? You have the opera singer that's singing at a high octave, just like Mariah Carey. And when that frequency matches the frequency of the wine glass, at first it'll start to wobble. And we know this from slow motion photography or video. You see the glass start to wobble back and forth, and then as soon as it hits that matching frequency, it shatters. It shatters. And this is what Dr. Royal Rife was doing 100 years ago, until the AMA came in and kind of shut his whole operation down. So for the general public today, just kind of do your own due diligence. It's not mandatory that you go a different route, whether it's homeopathy or naturopathy. At least consider reading some information about the benefits. And if you still choose to go the allopathic medical route, and if it's working for you, then I can't tell you not to do it. The only thing that I can do is tell you uh, what the outcome may be after prolonged use. Because on those commercials, they tell you everything that's going to happen to you. While you see people running in the fields, happy and jumping up and down in slow motion, while they're doing that, at the same time, they're tricking your brain. It's a psychological operation, because they know that it works. And they know that if you condition the mind through repetition, eventually it's going to stick. They're implanting neural grooves in your brain, so that energy can flow through at all times of the day and night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And most of the time, the individual doesn't even know it's happening. So the best thing for us to do as the general public is to know that there are other options and acknowledge that there are other options. We're going into the tail end of what's called Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we've rarely heard about it all month. We've hardly heard anything about it because of all this other stuff that's going on with the quote healthcare system, which is not a quote health care system. It's an illness management system. That's pretty much what it is, an illness management system. Because here in America, there is no cure for anything. At least that's what we're told. If you have this, there is no cure for it. If you have that, there is no cure for it. If you have type 2 diabetes, you're going to have it forever. If you have any type of cancer, you have 5 years to live. That's the timeline they give you. And because we don't know about how our own bodies function, we believe anything that the oncologist relays to us in the form of information. And we believe it. So the best thing that we can do, you don't have to have a PhD or be a scholar or anything to learn some basics about how our own bodies function, so we can stay well most of the time. When illness is just an indicator of
Mhm.
what we're feeling right now. It's just an indicator. The symptom is an indicator. It's like a fire alarm going off. It's like a fire, like a smoke alarm, alerting you that something's going on and we need to put some attention on it. But most people, we wait and wait and wait and wait and wait until the symptoms get so out of control. Then we
Right.
expect for the physician to present us with a miracle or a miracle drug or a miracle injection or a miracle serum. That's pretty much what we've been conditioned for, versus learning about what the earth has been providing for us for 1,000,000 years. We've been on this earth for what, on record, we're talking about maybe what, 3.5 million years of the first human remains that were discovered by Dr. Mary Leakey. So if that's the case, And you mentioned Hippocrates, let thy medicine be the food, and the food be thy medicine. That's Hippocrates of Greece. Then, for those of you that want to go even deeper, where did Hippocrates get his information? He got it from Imhotep of Africa, one of the first, if not the first, healer of all the nations. And all of this is, anyone can go look this up. Anyone can go look this information up. It's been common knowledge for all these years, And many health scholars already know this. But the individual in general society of America, we've been thoroughly conditioned to believe the contrary, that if you have an illness or a dis-ease, like you said, then the first line of defense is for you to rush to the pharmacy and ask the pharmacist for whatever the latest
Yep.
drug is on the market. It's like a drug house. They have drug houses inside of convenience stores, a CVS inside of a Target, a Save-On inside of a
Yeah,
Walmart.
actually, I posted
Know,
something this
it's a
morning.
legal drug
The
house.
last episode I did, the psychologist said,
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're selling a culture, a drug culture, and it's just it's desensitized us to no degree, and we are
Mm-hmm.
most definitely far more resilient than they would like us to believe or that we give ourselves credit for. And like you said, the education is out there. You can look these things up yourself, but most people aren't inspired to go and do that themselves. They're not going to question the authority, question the doctor, question the procedures that have been force fed them as the norm. So you said you had a child in 2014. You had a 10, 11 year old. So did she, when she was born, did she change
She's
your
11
ideas
now.
about anything? Did you look into anything extra because you were having a child, or were you just motivated to do this research from the get go?
Well, I had already been doing the research prior. We're talking, I was maybe 10 to 12 years in at this point. But when a child comes into the equation, then the dynamics in think, or at least my dynamic in thinking, changed. Because I wanted her to have the best chance of being healthy. And so her mother and I, we made a mutual decision that she wasn't going to be vaccinated. And one thing that I have noticed is that when I see unvaccinated or uninoculated, because the word vaccine is like a curse word, and I've had enough videos taken down because I keep using the word vaccine in a contrary manner versus what the narrative is. So we chose not to have her inoculated. And one thing that I've noticed is that most children that have been inoculated, they're the ones that typically get sick the most, or at least from what I've seen. And the children that aren't vaccinated, they're usually some of the healthiest children that I've ever seen. I mean, my daughter gets sick maybe once or twice a year, as opposed to most children that go to public schools and they're around 30 to 40 other children and the teacher, and they're enclosed in a room for hours and hours at a time. And so we have an exchange of energies, an exchange of breathing, an exchange of energies. And so if one child is sick and they've been had all these things injected into them, and then they have this person, this person, this person, we're just exchanging all of this energy back and forth. So children stay sick all the time. Colds, flus, asthma, bronchitis, you name it. These are things that I've seen children have at least once every other month, as opposed to once or twice a year. So that tells me when the human body is at least clean to a certain degree, or when your body's pH is at a certain level. And this has been again, it's been proven over and over again. Whether you look at Otto Warburg, whether you look at Max Planck, whether you look at Dr. Linus Pauling, all of these great people have won Nobel Prizes proving that the human body cannot form illness when your body's pH is at 7.4 or above. Once you start going lower and lower and lower and lower, your body starts to create what's called acidosis, or your body becomes highly acidic. So once children get to that point, then yeah, they're going to be sick all the time, runny nose, headaches, prolonged cough, you name it. So yeah, I made a decision that I wanted to do something a little different. My daughter eats a hell of a lot more fruit than I did growing up, and she drinks more water than I ever did as well, which is a great thing because it's the balance between eating the fruits that she loves, but then still being a kid and she eats candy and stuff like that every now and then. There's a delicate balance so she can
Now,
still
you touched
enjoy
on something
the
there.
perks
You're
of
in
being a
California,
kid,
correct? You just said LA.
um
So, have you experienced any challenges in the school system from this decision?
yes.
So, have you experienced any challenges in the school system?
Well, my daughter's homeschooled, so that was the decision. That was the decision. Because here in California, no school district in California will allow a child to enter into the public. You can't even step a toenail in the school system unless you have all caught up on the vaccination schedule. So my daughter being in middle school now, if she wanted to go to public school, or if we wanted to put her in public school, she would literally have to catch up on all the vaccines that she missed out on from K through 5. Right. Do you realize how much infiltration that will be for an 11-year-old boy or girl to have that type of schedule implemented upon them just so
It's
they can
absolute
go into a
insanity
public
for that
school
schedule
and
to
learn,
be put onto babies
right?
and kids that are preschool and pre-kindergarten in the first place, but let alone to collect it all. Yeah, no.
Right. Yes. Right. They want to consolidate all those years that were
Yeah,
missed
no
and
kidding.
roll it all up into one inoculation. Just to step into the public school system, just so I can learn a few things. No child, and parents can do what they want with their children. I'm not here to tell any parent how to parent, but it would be great for parents to, again, at least consider that there are other options. And right now, more parents are putting their children into homeschooling now more than ever since the pandemic. More parents are putting their children are being homeschooled now by their own parents, right? So for me, and this is my first time being the co-teacher this year. So it's my first time being the primary teacher. She sees her teachers online, but after that, all of her school assignments, I'm the teacher. And so there's a direct one-on-one interaction between the student and the teacher. So therefore, the one teacher doesn't have to spread themselves amongst 30 to 40 other children.
Absolutely.
So the one-on-one attention has its perks and its
So
advantages.
here's another
It
interesting
does.
thought
And I'm
is
glad I made
what
the
are the
decision.
differences that your daughter experienced during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic in California when it was masking and social distancing and, non-essentials essentially being banned from and all of these things that I was in California at the time and it was even for me as an adult it was something that was very challenging. So I couldn't imagine the kids that were in the schools.
It was challenging. The main challenge that I've seen, because my daughter's been homeschooled since kindergarten. So the biggest challenge was the interpersonal social interaction amongst other students. That's the only backdrop that I can see as far as the school is concerned. The difference between homeschooling and public schooling, it's the social interaction because there's not the direct in-person interaction that you would see in public school where the children get to go and have recess and talk amongst each other and play and things of that nature. Outside of that, that's the only difference. And as far as when she was growing up, she was younger. So, it was different for her kind of growing up in it, starting kindergarten. I mean, she started kindergarten right when the pandemic was kind of getting into real high gear. And so wearing a mask was very different for her. It was something that I really didn't care too much for. I tried not to wear a mask as much as I could for a number of reasons. The main thing is that I just like to breathe fresh air. versus breathing cotton for an hour. So yeah, that was one of the bigger differences for me. The social interaction, or for her, the social interaction was the biggest thing, because children always want to be connected with someone, or they want to share their connections with someone that are in their age bracket. So outside of that, she loves being homeschooled, and
I was a
but
half
that's
a
the only
mile
thing that I
from an
would that I
elementary
would
school
say would
in
be a major
a
difference.
very elite, well recognized public school in Malibu. And I drove by it every single day and I saw the kids on the playground in the mask, being grouped into small groups, being lined up, and just the entire environment seemed so much different than what anything we were used to in our life that I figured these kids had to be processing it. I don't know, in a scary way, almost a scary way. This was from one day to the next an entire different world for them. So you probably left your daughter in more ways than one being homeschooled.
Ye- Yeah, and again, I mean, I know it's pressure in public school. It's a lot of pressure on the teachers right now. Every 2 to 3 years, we see teachers going on strike. So I mean, if the school system was as great as we try to convince ourselves that it is, we wouldn't have teachers having to come out of their own salaries to pay for school supplies for their students. And we've seen this year after year after year after year. I mean, again, these are the hardships that parents or teachers go through. Um, and they go in with great intentions, wanting to help children and teach and things of this nature. But then it becomes stressful when, again, you have to spread yourself amongst 30 to 40 different personalities that come from 30 to 40 different households that have 30 to 40 different uh, household dynamics. Some children go to homes of happiness, and then some children go home to despair and hardship and abuse and things of this nature. So when they come to school, sometimes they take their anger or whatever it is that they're feeling out on other children. And because teachers aren't psychologists, they don't know what to do. You know, they're just telling everyone that they have some bad children in class because that's all that they can do. It's almost like they have the one arm tied behind their back, and they can only kind of do so much because it's a system. It's a system. And, this is why the whole Department of Education conversation has been, kind of like a roller coaster. Should the department be abolished altogether? Should we give it to each state so they can implement their own system according to what their state dynamics are? Or should we allow the entire federal government to convince us that all of us need to learn the same thing
How do you,
simultaneously? So,
yeah, how do you
it's
feel as a
kind of
Californian giving
you
more
you you
control
outweigh
to
the
the
pros and
state
the
versus the
cons.
federal government?
Well,
Right.
I don't really feel anything. I mean, I because for me, the education system has always been what it is. You're going to be taught to memorize versus being taught how to use your brain. We're taught how to memorize just stuff. Outside of English and math, everything else is up for debate. Everything else is up for debate. So the the department, if the federal government gives the states their own individual way, then fine. Let's implement it. Let's find a way that works for all of us as Californians based on our way of living out here. It's we live in sunlight and rain versus living in tornado alley or something of that nature. So you teach based on where you live, wherever the dynamics are. Teach based on your whatever the social histories are or whatever it is. So that's just one avenue of teaching if all the states decide to do their own thing. I come from where it was, you know, one size fits all. You go to K through, for me, elementary was K through 6. You learn all that you're supposed to with all these other children. It's almost like indoctrination. Everyone learns the same exact thing, and you don't deviate from it. And you learn just enough to graduate from high school and become, a part of that equation of what they call the middle class, where the workforce, where most people are in society. You learn just enough to become a part of that workforce until you're what, 65, versus teaching us how our brains operate and teaching us the way of, versus being the worker bee, teaching us how to be entrepreneurs or teaching us financial literature. We're not taught that in school. I think those would be great additions to the public school system if we're going to keep it federal. Teach us financial literacy and also
Yeah,
teach better health care as
I
well.
think we made a
Better
really,
health
really
care
tragic
in
mistake
the
when we
in the
took
public school
trades
system.
out of high
I
school as
think we made
well.
a really, really
I
tragic
mean, that
mistake when
just
we took
it
trades.
putting people into the workforce is one thing. Putting them in as automatons and just
Putting people into the
obedient
workforce
foot soldiers, I get this is just indoctrination. This is a little bit what they want. But when they took the trades out, we also made that separate, and then you had to do whatever you were doing in school and then go learn the trade. And they divided us from skill sets that actually make the place better.
make the place better.
That's right. Yes. I mean, I remember when I was in junior high, we had wood shop and metal shop. And then in high school, we had auto mechanic class. And, you just learn different elements of life that may come to your experience. And if you don't know, I mean, I didn't know how to work on a car until my first car literally caught fire on the freeway. So I had to learn real quick on how to take care of an automobile because at 18, 19 years of age, I didn't know. I mean, but the trades, like you said, that and also more physical education as well. More physical education, more, like you said, workshops, trades, whether it's plumbing, auto mechanics, whatever it
We
is,
got rid
things
of
that
those
people
fitness
need
standards
every
as well.
single day, and yeah,
You remember what it was like when we were in school and they were like, oh, you need to be able
right.
to run a mile in this
Yeah.
amount of time, do this
Yes.
amount of push ups and this amount of sit ups. And they don't do that anymore.
Yep.
Push-ups and
Yep. Yeah. Actually, and that's a great point that you made because in my daughter's homeschool, in her fifth grade year, we did do that. We had to go to one of the parks because the school wanted to implement this was her last year of elementary school. So she had to do this, I guess it was like a diagnostic thing where they, like you said, they had to run a certain distance back and forth 10 times or whatever. Let's see how many sit ups you can do. Let's see how many push ups you can do. Let's see how long you can run in place. Just little things that we kind of take for granted now because we're in a tech area, or we're in a tech era now, and where we're all kind of couch potatoes, even children. More children are on their cell phones today versus being active out amongst under the sun. So yeah,
Fitness,
the
presidential
what they
fitness
call it, the
standard or something like that.
presidential something that they called it back
fitness,
in the day.
presidential fitness
Yeah.
standard or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, that should
All right. So
come back to the school
let's get over
system
to
as well.
Kinetic Hour. What
Absolutely.
is your main
All
goal
right,
with the
so
show? It's to
let's
educate
get over
people,
to
to help them
Kinetic
out with their
Hour.
fitness and their health and
Main goal
well
with the
being,
show is to educate people,
educational.
The con- yes, the Kinetic Hour originally started, like I said earlier, it kind of picked up where my mom and I left off back in 2016. And the whole premise of the Kinetic Hour is to just relay some information just based on my opinions, based on how I've seen the world for 50 plus years, and also having some great guests on that know more than I do, and so where I can learn something new. I've had some great guests on that have really taught me a lot and have actually verified other avenues of health. They've verified it for me. And so the Kinetic Hour is great. Not only do I talk about health matters, the entire premise of the show is predominantly about health issues, but also health is political. Health is political, as we're seeing right now. Health is political. And so because of that, I do talk about insider stuff with government versus what we see on TV every day. Things are happening right now that and everybody has an opinion. There's 1,000 different podcasts that we can be watching. So I'm just happy that people choose to tune in to the Kinetic Hour. They choose to tune in to Josh Button. They choose to tune in to people that they can resonate with when it comes to the information. Information is power. And if I can give some information that is unconventional, then we can give you something different to think about and consider, to do something different versus listening to all the noise, the noise that we keep hearing every single day. So, as far as the Kinetic Hour, I love doing it. I've been doing it since November of 2022. And again, education matters. Education, health, government, social matters, you name it. It's
So
all on the table. Relationships, you
you
name
kind
it.
of got started
But
the way I did then. You were thinking about
health
this
is the
being a
main element.
easy mentorship kind of program where I can learn, I can talk to fascinating people, get into subject matter that I'm informed and what I am not so informed with. And why not branch out and share these things with the community, because people do need a different voice, ones that aren't getting profit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy to do it. Um, I love being on the microphone. The Kinetic Hour is actually a branch off of Kinetic Fit and Wellness, which I've had since 2014 as well. And Kinetic Fit and Wellness has three elements to it. One is fitness, physical fitness training. Second is physiotherapy, or what's called physical therapy, whether it's cupping, electronic muscle stimulation, things of this nature, stretching, stretch techniques, anything that assists in the body's capability of healing itself or recovering from either injury or just having maintenance done on the body to keep the body at the most optimal level possible. And then the third element, the Trinity, is holistic psychology, and where I can counsel people doing like what we're doing right now from anywhere in the country. I counsel people on whatever it is that's going on in their lives, if or when they want to make the shift or the change, or if they come to an awareness that, damn, I need to do something a little different because I'm not really happy with what's going on currently. I need to change something. So I counsel people on how they can change certain things, make little subtle changes, and become more aware of why the change needs to occur, and acknowledge that, yes, something does need to change. Many, if not most people, are in denial about their happenings of life, their experiences of life, their shortcomings of life. Many people are just oblivious because, again, we're so caught up and conditioned with all the noise. So we don't take the time out to just kind of focus on us for a little while, because we want to take care of everything else and everyone else. And then maybe one day we'll maybe put ourselves first or give ourselves some attention, maybe a little bit. Yeah, the Kinetic Hour and Kinetic Fit and Wellness. And again, I love doing all of them. For those that are in your audience that want information, they can always email me. Tell me that you saw me on Josh Button show, which I'm happy, and thank you for having me on. And just let me know that you got some things going on that you want to make a change. The most important thing about holistic psychology, two things that kind of stand out with holistic psychology as opposed to clinical psychology or clinical psychiatry. The first is that I don't diagnose anyone. I don't diagnose anyone. So when you come to me, I'm not going to listen to your challenges of life and then tell you that you have borderline personality disorder or that you have social anxiety disorder, or that you're bipolar, one or two, right? You're not going to get any of that from me, because the moment that the nanosecond that you get told that you have this condition, wiring in your brain starts to change in that moment, because now you've been told that you have something. So the moment that you're told that your condition has a label attached to it, now you're going to start releasing neurochemistry that's going to match it. And so then you're going to start to believe that, oh shit, I must do have bipolar disorder. And then you start telling people that you have bipolar disorder. When you get introduced, hello, I'm such and such. Oh, what's going on? Oh, I was told I have bipolar disorder and I have to take these pills every other day for the next 60 days. Right? So it changes you the moment you get any of these diagnoses. So I don't do those. I don't diagnose anyone with any quote mental disorder. You know how they have this book called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illnesses, or what's called the DSM. And I have the 5th edition. And you should, when you look at it, it looks like a Bible now, as opposed to what it once was back in the late 50s, early 60s, when it was like a 30-page pamphlet. Now, this thing is almost 1,000 pages. So that tells me that every single emotion that's been identified has been labeled as a disorder. Shyness is a disorder. Loneliness is a disorder.
And they all make somebody else money.
Shopping too much is a disorder. If you got extra money, yes, right. So I don't do any of the labelings. All of us have challenges in life. It's one of the main reasons why we're here in the first place, to learn from the challenges, to learn from them. All 8 billion of us are here to learn, to make ourselves better, or to remember what we came here with from the spirit world. So I don't do labels, you know. So that's number one. Number two is that I don't prescribe medications. So I'm not going to prescribe Ambien. I'm not going to prescribe Lexapro. I'm not going to prescribe Cymbalta and Seroquel, Xanax, all these different medications that we've seen over the years, Wellbutrin, you name it. These are medications that many people, in most cases, not all cases, because in some cases, these medications have served their purpose in the short term. But again, clinical psychology and clinical psychiatry tells us that if you're diagnosed with one of these quote disorders, that you need to take Xanax every day for the next 30 days. When you're done with that, come get your refill. When you're done with that, come get your next refill. And it's an ongoing cycle that we step into. And once we step into it with all 10 toes, then it turns into like the Black Widow spider web. You've seen a Black Widow spider web. When an insect goes into a Black Widow spider web, they're not coming out. They're not coming out. And many people that start taking these medications from prolonged use, because I've seen people that have been on their medications for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they're still complaining that they still have anxiety. They're still depressed, right? They still feel this way. They're still feeling grief. They're still feeling animosity. They're still feeling malice. They're still feeling hurt. They're still feeling disappointment. All of these negative emotions that they're holding on inside. And all emotions are energy. So all that negative energy just becomes more and more and more and more dense in the body. Then we wonder why we're starting to ache and our joints are starting to ache, and we have prolonged headaches, and the neck starts to stiffen, and all of these things because of all the worst case scenarios that we continue to think of. This is neurochemistry that's flooding our nervous system. This is what we're doing to ourselves. No one else is doing it to us. We're doing it to ourselves. No one controls your body except for you. Now, people can influence it. People can influence it, but like that old show, you have the final answer. You know, you have the final say of what action steps you're going to take when you have a certain illness condition or you're diagnosed with a certain quote disorder, which is nothing more than the individual not knowing how life operates and how we can make life a little bit easier for us in the midst of challenges, in the midst of a negative situation. How can we learn from it so we can make it better the next time around, so we can make a better decision? Not that the first decision was wrong. That decision just led you to make a new decision or a better decision. There is no right or wrong. You just keep moving forward, and you keep learning. The moment you keep getting caught up in right or wrong, now you're stuck in duality. Right and wrong, up and down, hot and cold, versus knowing that you you being in conjunction with the one energy. Some people call it God, some people call it Allah, or whatever it is. I just call it the highest form of energy or the highest frequency of energy that we all can correspond with. Whatever's on the outside is within us. As above, so below. So within, so without. This is just who we are as human beings. So the moment we get in tune with that, then we can start to make ourselves just a little bit better. Not searching for perfection, but acknowledging our shortcomings, our flaws, or what they call weaknesses as opposed to our strengths. Many people want to go straight to their strengths because that's what they know. But let's acknowledge our flaws because we all have them. Let's acknowledge them. Let's learn how to make them a little bit better, because when we make our flaws and our shortcomings better, we become better. Our vibration rises just a little bit more. Make your weaknesses less weak and still focusing on your strengths, but focus even more on your weaknesses so you can make them just as strong or equally as your strengths. So they're not weaknesses anymore. Your weakness can become your greatest strength when you change your narrative, change the story. Most people want to tell their story over and over and over again, knowing how it's going to make them feel. So let's change the story. Let's change the story. Let's change it to where it works and it favors you, to where it starts to make you feel better. And then from better, you start to feel good. And then from feeling good, you start to feel good more often. You start to have more confidence. You gain little successes every single day. And that'll build your confidence over time. So holistic psychology, it's not about telling you that you have a disorder, and it's not telling you that you have to have this lifetime prescription of all of these drugs that are on the market. I mean, drugs are only temporary. That's why on the commercials they say temporary relief. It's temporary, but your brain is attached to you forever. Your brain is attached forever. And when we learn how to at least learn how our brains function on a basic level, yeah, we can do some things. The brain is that powerful. The mind is that powerful. And the mind and the brain are two separate towers on different sides of the street. So once we get in tune with that, then we can start to create the shift. The shift. And not that your circumstances will be all taken care of overnight or in a week or even in a month. But again, consistency, doing the right things long enough consistently, you'll start to see and feel the change within you. And once you feel it within you, others will start to see it in you. Others will start to see it. And then you just keep learning and keep progressing.
Awesome.
And keep making yourself better.
So, are you encouraged by a fellow Californian, Mr.
Yeah.
RFK, and the Maha movement?
Yeah, but one thing I've always said is that Robert Kennedy, if you want to make America great, talk to the leader first. Robert Kennedy is not the leader of the free world. The other guy is, the Donald. He's the president. So let's talk to him about making his health great again. As great as Robert Kennedy is, and I've talked about Robert Kennedy. I've talked about him being a part of what they call the disinformation dozen during the pandemic. He and 11 other people that were bringing information to the table that was contrary to the narrative, and Robert Kennedy is still being kind of thrown into the coals, if you will. He's been put into the hot seat. He's had these Senate hearings where, the moment he starts to tell his tale, this is politics. You have people on this side of the aisle. And by the way, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. So I've talked about both sides equally because all we've had for the last 170 years are Republicans and Democrats. There's no Whig party. There's no Federalist Party. None of that stuff exists anymore. So now all we have is the quote, as Ralph Nader used to call it, the two-party dictatorship, right? So if this is all that we have, it would be wise for us to look at other options. And if Robert Kennedy is telling us, and he's co-written a couple of books with some very prominent physicians that can tell you the same thing, because Robert Kennedy doesn't have DR in front of his name or MD behind his name. The notion is that he's not a credible figure. But again, all this stuff is out there for anyone to go and look. Anyone. The information is out there. Whether it's coming from Robert Kennedy, whether it's coming from his co-author, Brian Hooker, whether it's Dr. Brian Hooker, whether it's coming from Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who was vilified in the mainstream media about 10 years ago through his research relating autism to the inoculation and how they relate, and how autism just kind of skyrocketed all of a sudden because of the inoculation schedule. Because autism didn't exist the way that it does now just 20 short years ago. But now autism is a part of the lexicon now. That's how conditioned we've become when it comes to autism. So when it comes to Robert Kennedy telling the general public that you might want to stay away from this vaccine schedule, not that I'm condemning it, talking about Robert Kennedy, he's not saying that he's condemning it. If you want to get the vaccine for yourself, have at it. Have 100 vaccines if you want to. But for those that understand that most of the people that get inoculated, they're the main ones that stay sick so much, you might want to consider doing something a little different. So I like Robert Kennedy, and I have for quite some time. I just wish he would relay the message to the head honcho in charge of all the other stuff. They have this thing that they had, and I highlighted it too about a month ago, this new health thing for children that they had. He had one of the pro golfers and Triple H and all these people, Lawrence Taylor, which was a shocker to me, which is a whole nother subject. But when you have these type of programs, let's get the head honcho healthy first, because he's the one that people are looking to. And then maybe Robert Kennedy somewhere, in the equation, but he's not the head honcho. The Donald is the head honcho. So let's talk to him about making America healthy again. And he can use Robert Kennedy as a mouthpiece, but let's have the leader of the free world be the example as well.
Taking Fauci so seriously, and now via Donald or whoever we want to accredit RFK being in the equation without that MD title and without those other RFK, I guess, whatever you want to call them, accreditations by mainstream media or mainstream science, and he's a vocal voice now that maybe we've kind of moved the spectrum a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, you don't have to. Again, I'm just a layperson that's taking it upon myself to learn about how my own body functions. So whether you're accredited or not, no one has to be accredited to learn about how your own bodies function. So when it comes to people like Dr. Fauci and all these other people that are the heads of these foundations and these big corporations, the National Institute of Health and all these places,
Yeah, yeah.
take a look at the history of these foundations. Take a look at take a look at the history of the NIH. Take a look at the history of the AMA. Take a look at the history of the American Cancer Society and how they got started and why they got started and why they're still in existence today. All the American Diabetic Association. Type 2 diabetes is probably one of the easier conditions to reverse. Whether people believe it or not is irrelevant. All you got to do is take the time out, give yourself about 60 to 90 days. You can go to your physician and have them prick your finger like they do for all other diabetics, and they can run your blood and show you, or you show them, that I'm no longer having the numbers that would make me, quote, diabetic, or what they call type 2 diabetes mellitus. I don't have that anymore. Why? Because I took the time out to do something different. I took the time out to stop eating all the shit food that's in the food supply. Eating late at night is another big thing that we might want to slow down with. Eating late at night. So, yeah, all of us have the wherewithal to learn about how our own bodies function on a basic level. You don't have to have a PhD.
Yeah, hopefully.
And you don't have to go to school either.
And
There's
lots
plenty
of
of libraries. There's plenty of ebooks out there. The information is out there. And lots of podcasts. That's right. I mean, you can go anywhere now and learn the information. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to anyone's school. There's plenty of information out there.
One of the things that has
for
been
those that
retired
want to learn it.
changes we've witnessed in the last couple of years, and the move into the people like yourself starting the show that you've started, and
Mhm.
it's always going to be an uphill battle for independent outside sources, but you know what? There's more of us out there trying now, and there's more people watching and participating, and more people listening. In my
Yes, there are, and actually, there are more people listening more than ever. Because we're in a tech era now, we have access to more information than we did 2 decades ago when social media was kind of just getting its feet wet. So we have more access to people like myself and yourself to get more information that might differ from their primary physician. And that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with anyone going into standard allopathic medicine. That's great. It's just the notion that we've been thoroughly conditioned for is that we, just to live on this planet on a daily basis, that we have to take some kind of synthetic pill or some kind of shot or some kind of syrup, a teaspoon of syrup, to just to function in the world versus versus allowing life. Just allow life. Just allow it to occur, and we learn from it. You don't need a pill to learn about life, because Xanax is not going to make your anxieties go away. Cymbalta is not going to make your hardships go away. It might halt the feeling for a little while, but your circumstances are still going to be there. No matter what pills you take, your circumstances are going to be there. And actually, many times the circumstances get worse because the mind is jumbled now, because the brain circuitry is changed, because you have a synthetic medication telling your brain to function in a different way other than its divine order. So when you allow your brain to function in its divine order, magic starts to happen over time. Not instant magic like a David Copperfield or a David Blaine, but we're talking about the magic of life happening for you
to you, yes,
versus you feeling like life is happening against you or to you. Right. Exactly. So, so the more we engage or choose to engage in seeking better information or different information that may resonate a little bit different. For those that are tired of going through the motions, I've had this illness for 15 years and it just won't go away. Now, right, there's always a different way. There's, like Dr. Leonard Caldwell said, there's no such thing as an incurable disease, only incurable people. People are incurable, not the illness, people, because they don't want to take the time out to do something different. You know, what do they call insanity? Doing the same negative things over and over and over and over again, expecting a positive result. That's what happens in the system of medicine. Doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting that result. But we're talking about 10 or 15 years you've been on this liver medication because your blood is thin. Why is your blood thin? Why are you on blood thinners, right? Because your blood is so sludged that you have to, you got to take like dynamite and make it explode in your system to clear all this junk out. Your lymphatic system, when people say they have lymphoma and all these other cancers, the lymphatic system, usually it's because the lymphatic system is clogged to high heaven, like a clogged plumbing, like clogged pipes. They're not moving. So the best way to get your lymphatic system to start moving and washing away, it's like a street sweeper, washing away all the stuff. It's like your body's internal bathtub. Yes, exactly. So the best way to stimulate it, one of the best, if not the best way, is what we call rebounding, or jumping up and down on a trampoline, the bouncing effect, taking yourself all the way up here and allowing gravity to work for you. Allowing gravity to work for you. It moves the lymphatic system. It helps it move all the stuff. You have more lymph fluid in your system than you do blood. So you have to keep it moving. You have to keep it moving, because if you don't, again, lymphoma and, your lymph ducts, again, breast cancer, breast cancer awareness. For those of you that put on these deodorants, these quote anti-perspiring deodorants that clog your pores, and then that solid anti-perspiration absorbs into your lymph ducts and it clogs your pores. It clogs your lymph ducts. And so you have all this stuff that isn't moving because we're sedentary. We're in front of the TV, we're in front of the computer, and we don't move. So the best way to move the lymphatic system up and down, or you can get a lymphatic drainage session, things of that nature, a vibration plate. If you have access to one, those are great. But just stuff to get your blood moving, stuff to get your heart pumping faster, things that will stimulate movement.
You offer
The
people
body
this
is
stuff in your coaching
designed
you're
to be
doing
in
for
motion at all times.
various reasons as well. You're not only doing fitness, but you're also giving them health and lifestyle changes as well.
Absolutely. Because again, information is power. I mean, I could show you 1,000 different exercises to implement, but if your mind isn't all the way there, your body is going to respond very differently. Yeah, your body's going to be resistant if your mind is resistant. When your mind is open, then your body will become open to the change, and the resistance will start to subside over time. Because you want to make a certain change, your why has to be
and strong.
Your why has to be defined. Your why.
Where do
And
you
it has to be
recommend
strong.
people come to find
Absolutely.
you first and foremost? I know you're on Instagram. I know you have your show, and people should definitely go watch that, check that out on YouTube. But you want them to visit your site?
The best way, I'm on all the platforms. I don't have an official website. I'm on all the social media platforms. Yes, so you can go to Instagram, you can go to TikTok, you can go to Facebook, you can go to LinkedIn. I'm on all 4 platforms. So you just type in Kennon Mason as you see it on the screen right there. Just type in my name, Kennon, and usually my name will pop up because it's kind of different from Kenneth or Kenny or any of those. So type in my name and any of those platforms, and my socials will pop up. Or you can email me. You can email me if you want more personal or more interpersonal information. You can email me at Kinetic7. That's Kinetic, Kennetic, the number 7 @gmail.com. And again, you could tell me that you saw me on Josh Button Show. And I have a lot of information I could email to you so you can get more in-depth information of what kinetic fit and wellness is, what holistic psychology is primarily, and how you can benefit no matter what you choose, whether it's fitness, physiotherapy, or counseling. So all four platforms. And then you can go to my YouTube channel, which is the Kinetic Hour, and also my other YouTube channel, my original YouTube channel, which is Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. And I have a lot of older videos, oh gosh, going back to 2018, 2019. Some clips of some of the people that we interviewed on Aim to Purpose, the radio show back in 2015, 2016. So again, information. So you can look me up on all of those platforms. Just come find me, come talk to me. I'm easily accessible, and let's have a conversation. For those that are truly ready versus what Les Brown says, those
Awesome.
that are
Thank you very
seriously
much,
not
Kennon.
serious.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Kennon. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.